Hey people, so today we're going to be breaking down the Pirc defense. Without further ado, let's quit this dilly-dallying and let's get into the video. The Pirc defense is after e4 and d6. The move d4 is played, thrusting both pawns into the center. Here we're going to play knight to f6. Here the move e5 does not work because you get this position, knight to e4. Not knight to e4. Sorry, knight to g4. Forking. Can't save both, so you kind of have to sacrifice this. So, obviously, instead of playing e5, we're going to get knight to c3, defending this pawn, and we're going to play g6, going for bishop g7 and short castle. This is very similar to a kind of King's Indian, like King's Indian modern opening, but King's Indian is when the pawn's on c4 as well, and there is no pawn on c4. Pawns cannot jump knights. Hope you all know that. At least you learned one thing in this video. Bishop to e3. The idea of bishop to e3 is just getting pieces developed, possibly going for queen to d2, and long castles. Sorry, queen to d2, like bishop e3, knight f3, short castle. Sorry, long castles. c6, preventing any movement like this. Bishop to d3, just getting his pieces developed, or their pieces, sorry. Knight bd7. Here the move knight to f3 is very commonly played. Now here you're going to play e5, kind of lashing out in the center. After d takes, and h3. Here you can just play bishop to g7. After the move a4, you just short castle. Very basic. Very good. Let's move on. e4, d6, d4, knight to f6, and knight to c3. After this, we get c6. Once again, this is known as the Czech. This is known as the Czech defense of the Pirc defense. Sorry. Here, f4 is extremely common, getting kind of this 3-pawn setup, very similar to if something like, if we go back to here, d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight f3, bishop g7, e4. Very, very similar, just on the king side instead of the queen side. With these pawns. Queen side instead of king side. Sorry, king side instead of queen side. Now, obviously, yes, takes. So do you like knight c3, d6, here and here. This King's Indian defense, I have a video on it. Very good video, too. Very proud of it. After f4, we're going to play this queen a5 move. Now here, a very common move is bishop to d3. After this, we get e5. You're lashing out in the center again. Knight to f3. Knight bd7. After short castles, bishop to e7. We get king to h1. Pretty common move. Here you're going to short castle, queen to e1. Queen to e1, going for something like putting the queen over onto g3 or h4. Here, you take. Knight to d5 is a common move. Reason why this kind of doesn't work. Because bishop's open. Huh? What? Hold on. d5. After c takes. Oh, queen a5, yeah. Fuck. I'm stupid. I'm stupid as hell. Here, queen d8 works. Takes, and after queen to h4, you play h6, and you're relatively fine here, actually. Let's move on to our next game. Not next game, but our next line. e4, you should know this move by now. d6, d4, knight to f6, and f3. This is known as a lion's jaw variation. Actually, it's a very good variation. It's a line that I recommend. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot. Kind of similar to Samish. Not really though, because the pawn's on e6 and because this pawn's on d6 instead of e6, and this cannot go out like this. But kind of similar idea of f3 supporting this. Actually, it's kind of more like a fantasy Karu. g6, g6 going for like bishop to g7 and short castles, obviously. Bishop to c4, bishop to g7. After knight to e2, very common move. Short castles. Here you're going to play c6. As you can see, these ideas kind of morphing into each other, right? Knight bc3, knight bd7, bishop to e3, and here you're just going to play e5, and you're fine. Here, like, a4 is good for black. d5 is pretty good for... Sorry, a4 is good for white. d5 is good for black. It's pretty good, yeah. And let's move on to the final line. e4, d6, d4, knight to f6, and knight to d2. This is pretty common. Pretty nice response. Here's going to play e5. Now, if this knight was on c3, e5 does not work because of this. Knight f6, like this, just really does not work. But knight d2, e5 works, because after takes, queen cannot take queen, because this knight blocks. So after e5, very common move, c3. Defending the pawn, bishop to e7, and pretty common play from here. Yeah. Go do something productive with the rest of your day. I'm joking. Alright. So, yeah, if you're watching this far into the video, 1, thank you, and 2, you must be a fan. And I'm sorry for the lack of uploads as of recently. For those of you who do not know, I'm working on becoming a national master. I'm playing tournaments. I'm playing a tournament actually not this weekend, but soon. That's all I'm saying. October 8th, and I'm just going to be, I've been trying my hardest to find lines that I want to play for my game. I actually have 2 opening books. This is one of them. This is actually where I kind of got the idea for the video from. If you guys are watching this far, thank you. Chapter 11, the Pirc's defense. That's where I got the majority of the moves from. So, yeah. I credited my source. English teachers out there who happen to be watching a 13-year-old break down chess games. I cite my resources. But, yeah. I'm an actual player. I'm amateur, yes, but I'm a player. So, do not go thinking that, I just don't want to make videos. I'm being lazy. It's because I'm trying my hardest to actually learn lines for tournaments right now. So, yeah. Without further ado, now you can go do something productive with the rest of your day.